And now it's time for Fabulous Film and Friends. This week on our 108th episode of Fabulous Film and Friends, we're looking at Danny Boyle's 2025 summer entry, 28 years later, as well as the two other films that led up to it, 2002's 28 Days Later and 2007's 28 Weeks Later. Mr. Boyle directed the segments 1 and 3, and the second entry was directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. The stars of the first movie were Cillian Murphy, Naomie Harris, Gleason, Megan Burns, and Christopher Eccelson. The second movie was a regular who's who of up-and-comers from 2007, Jeremy Renner, Rose Byrne, Imogen Poots, Idris Elba, Harold Perrineau, with veteran support from Catherine McCormack and Robert Carlysle. While film number 3 is a mix of old pros and newcomers alike, with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, Jack O'Connell, and Ralph Fiennes as supporting players, to fresh-faced star of tomorrow, Alfie Williams. I'm your host, Gino Caputi, and my solitary guest this week is the mighty Joe Field, an author, teacher, and pop culture enthusiast. Welcome, Joe.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Before we begin, the synopsis, of course. The 28 Days Later trilogy story unfolds as follows. Zombies, zombies, and more zombies. The first movie tracks the origin of an ape-based virus and how it decimates England and turns its population into cannibalistic, raging savages within 28 days. Only a lone bike messenger, freshly awakened from a coma, and a few other scrappy survivors are able to navigate the treacherous countryside to the supposed safety of a military outpost. The underachieving sequel is basically the military versus zombies, where the virus has been eradicated due to the infected starving to death. But the virus returns with a vengeance when an asymptomatic mother releases it on her cowardly husband who left her to die during the first outbreak. And the third movie, taking place 28 years after that, deals with a post-apocalyptic human society living on a small island in Scotland. The islanders are cut off from the rest of the world and surrounded by lands chock-a-block full of zombies, including 7-foot-tall alpha zombies. This society has their own training, customs, and way of life, but when an island mother comes down with cancer, her 12-year-old son takes her out into the forbidden land in search of a doctor who can cure her. Which of these films stacks up as the best or is worth a trip to the Cineplex? Find out. All right, Joe, you're fresh from these movies. I'm fresh from these movies. I only saw these movies because the trailer to 28 Years Later looked impressive, so I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. What did you think? Rate them, I guess. Rank them. What'd you think? What's the deal? What's the vibe?
Sure. I would personally rate them a little bit hard, but I would say 2, 3, 1. But I wouldn't say that I really have much desire to go back and watch any of them.
Yeah, I rate them exactly the same way you do. Two's not great.
No, it's
but
not.
Two's not irritating. 1 and 3 were irritating. 3 was stylistically the most impressive, for sure. I'd say filmmaking was Danny Boyle's filmmaking is more impressive now. Obviously, he's an experienced filmmaker now, so it was by far the most sort of visceral movie. But the most frustrating. I actually hated it. While I respected it, I hated what it stood for. So I hated it as a pagan piece of pointless crap. Plus, I hated that they were setting up more films, and that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, enough with these didn't you learn from Ridley Scott, Mr. Boyle? You know, just tell the story. Stop trying to be the Marvel universe. So that really pissed me off. And then just the whole, well, let's get into it. So the first movie, tell me, let's lay it out there. What's good and what's bad about the first movie, and down the line.
Sure. I would say that for me, and some people will like this, but it felt like the first movie had the feeling of being like a bunch of people who came together just to who happened to fall upon a video camera and were like, hey, let's make a movie. Like, there's a very indie feel to it.
May I remind you, that was the style back in those days, thanks to Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah. Well.
So that sort of found footage feel was a thing at that point in film history.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
let me just break in real quick. The second movie you noticed was really extensive use of shaky cam, which again was we've all forgotten it, but the Bourne Identity and United 93 and all those movies by Paul Greengrass were of that style. So that movie definitely had the shaky cam thing going for it. So now we've sort of evolved into a much cleaner, bolder filmmaking palette. So yeah, but anyway, go on.
well, I mean, so I would say that was one thing that I found kind of exhausting. I mean, also, like, I would say, at least with Blair Witch Project, right? It's like,
Yeah.
that's part of the plot, right? Is that it's like, okay, yeah, we're on this specific kind of camera, but we're not supposed to believe that, Jim is being followed around by a camera crew at any point, you know.
Yeah, again, it's a style.
But yeah, sure. I mean,
I will definitely give the first movie its style for when he's isolated. I thought the movie had a lot of
yeah,
promise.
I think that was probably one of the highlights is him walking around, and I think that that's sort of I don't know. I think that's probably the part of the movie that is the most interesting in some ways.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
because I think now, even now, a lot of zombie movies that we see are like, okay, if you step 1 foot outside, you're going to see a bunch of shambling monsters, essentially. And it's like, no, none of that. It's like, okay, the world is just empty after 28 days. What happened? Where are all the people? And, they're not, you have to find out.
I do wish
But,
he had defined it better because I think he wanted to go for the visceral impact of empty streets in London, which was impressive for sure.
yeah.
But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense given the carnage. So, I mean, so it's either, yeah, I get it, but then explain how they all got pushed to one area. Because otherwise, they'd all just be dead bodies everywhere. There'd be, especially based on the carnage in 3 or 2.
Yeah.
You go, well, wait a minute. What is it? Do they take their bodies away and hive them somewhere and they pack them away in a meat plant or something? Fine. But the first movie, in retrospect, it was like, well, he didn't think that through. It was just sort of it was like this sort of idea. What if I was all alone in London? You know,
I mean,
it was cool. Yeah.
There's no blood anywhere in that hospital, which is
Right.
at least one of the places where you would expect there to be blood.
Right.
you know?
Right.
But like, there's no sign of it. I mean, there's signs of like maybe struggle, things tipped over, messes everywhere, but nothing that would indicate that there was anything violent that had happened.
Right.
So I think that's also kind of I mean, I think that my biggest problem, well, one of my biggest problems with these 3 movies, and maybe the way that I mentioned earlier through messages, like these remind me a little bit of the Mad Max movies, primarily in the sense that they have the most inconsistent world building imaginable. Like,
Yeah.
for such a simple premise. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to what things zombies can and can't do. There's no established idea like, okay, well, like, the rules that seem to apply in the first movie don't apply in the second one, and the rules in the second one don't apply in the third.
Well, in the third, they've created the alphas, so
they've
they're
created-
basically like Superman, Okay.
Yeah.
So nothing kills them at that point.
Yeah,
So,
I guess.
yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's something that I find a little bit frustrating for such a simplistic concept that they can't manage to kind of stick with one thing and kind of go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other problems too, but that's at least one thing that kind of gets to me a little.
All right, so part 2. What's your assessment?
Part 2 definitely had a lot more polish to it than the first one. It felt like I was watching a real movie, and I mean, sure, whatever style, like you know, if you happen to like the style in the first one, whatever. But for me, at least, the second one felt like a real movie. I still think that there was a lot of very flimsy kind of hand waving that goes on in there. Here we have one lady who's established part zombie, and they have no guards on her.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay, sure, you might have a locked door. So locked door, double security, like, there's, what about cameras?
She's
Anyways.
also asymptomatic.
Yeah.
So she's a huge key, just like the baby in the third one. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? These are huge keys to solving this problem, and they're just gloss. I mean, they talk about it in the second one, but yeah, she's super important, and they gloss over that,
Yeah.
And yeah, they just let the husband in to get killed, basically, and the sort of revenge. It breaks down. Like, it starts off pretty clean, and I'm just happy to see Jeremy Renner. I didn't even know he was in it.
I didn't either.
I never again. But you were just a kid. You were just a baby during these times, And I was a full-fledged movie nerd, and I had no interest in seeing them, primarily because I didn't like Danny Boyle's movies that much. It's too bad Roseanne couldn't make this one. She loved Shallow Grave, which was this first big splash. I hate Shallow Grave. I just don't like his movies. Trainspotting, I'll give him his one. That's his. Have you ever seen Trainspotting?
No.
Okay, Ewan McGregor's and Robert Carlysle. They all sort of burst on the scene. That's his one win, in my opinion. That's his one solid, in your face, cool filmmaking, good acting, good story, just a good movie. And then he of course just torpedoed it with Trainspotting 2, which came out in 2017, which couldn't have been worse than, say, Basic Instinct 2 or any other sequel that comes out 20 years later. It's just awful. Like, so, but he did the Slumdog Millionaire, big hit.
Oh, yeah.
I hated it. Did you see Slumdog Millionaire?
I saw parts of it. I don't think I watched the whole thing.
I hated it. I thought it was he kind of, all his movies except for Trainspotting cower away from bigger ideas. So I just don't like his movies that much. He just always backs off from better ideas. So he'll start strong. There's this movie Sunshine with Cillian Murphy and Chris Evans and Michelle Yeoh, and it's like this big cast. It's a space adventure, like Restart the Planet movie. Has a terrible title. Like, who the hell's going to see it? It's Sunshine, but it's a space adventure. And it's really good for the first hour, and then it becomes a slasher movie. And he does this in 28 Days Later. So we have this movie. You got Naomie Harris saying, "Oh, I'm a survivor, and like, I'm just gonna do whatever to survive." And then we get into there's this Vittorio De Sica movie with Sophia Loren called Two Women, women being raped in war. And so I think we're heading into this sort of, what's worse, flesh-eating zombies or rape by soldiers? So I think we're heading into, like, okay, this is going to be heady, like, deep stuff. And it becomes Die Hard. It just becomes Die Hard. Like, oh, come on. So I just gave up. Like, so Cillian Murphy, who's shown to be nothing but just an everyman twerp, so he's a bike messenger. He's not going to kill the military. That's just stupid. So it just falls into this, like, okay, nonsense. You've shied away from the deeper, meatier. Like, he didn't shy away in Trainspotting. There's dead children. Trainspotting is about heroin abuse, dead children and dead parents, and horrible stuff in Trainspotting. And then in this movie, he just backs away. So like this is a cowardly little movie. I don't want to see Die Hard. We've got enough Die Hard with the zombies. We don't need more action upon action because, oh, you know what? Hey, Joe, guess what? You know what's worse than flesh-eating zombies? Mankind. So, yeah, exactly. So I was like, blah, bleh. Another fizzle out from Danny Boyle. Did you see Yesterday?
No.
Yesterday's the worst. It's about the singer, and it's just pure bullshit. And it's the singer who wakes up and nobody knows who the Beatles are. So he's pounding his head against the wall. He can't make it as a singer. He's just bound, which is fine. And so then he wakes up one day and nobody's ever heard of the Beatles. So he starts singing Beatles songs and making big bucks. And then he meets the real John Lennon, played by Robert Carlyle, because he's one of Danny Boyle's. And John Lennon's this just happy little fisherman living in the sea, and, just spouting philosophical mumbo jumbo. And you're going, if you know anything about the real John Lennon, you know he'd be a wife-beating drunk. And it's like, this is like, he's just like, yeah, his ideas, he sucks. So
Yeah.
So part 3, I was just okay. So I was like, okay, he's done one good movie. This trailer looks great. What are we in for? And from the first scene, I knew we were in for a pile of shit. I knew it. Like when the Protestant minister is going, "It's the apocalypse. It's beautiful," and you see the cross running away, and then you're like, okay, we're in for it now. And sure enough, I thought the third movie was predicated on a weak idea. Like, it's weak. It's just and then, of course, we get Ray Fiennes is the beautiful, bald, like, peaceful Dr. Kevorkian, and I'm like, okay, you lose. What a terrible movie. Terrible. Like, not life-affirming, horrible, pagan bullshit. So that's where I stand. There's my rant. So anyway, we were talking about part 2. Part 2, again, it's fine. It's an action movie, basically. It's fine, but I didn't love it. I just didn't hate it.
Part 2 reminded me of some of the Asylum movies, but like slightly better than what you would expect from those. From the sci-fi original movies, essentially.
Yeah, I've never seen one, so I don't understand the reference even.
You're not missing.
I mean, zombie movies are a dime a dozen, so.
And that's exactly what the movies from the Asylum are. Is like they're just cheap, fast. They put them out on the channel, and that's it.
Okay.
Because that's what a lot of it felt like in the second one. That there were some okay moments and things like that, and it was one of those movies where I was like, I don't hate this. I still think that there's a lot of very flimsy, like, logic that kind of goes through all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people who should be relatively smart act really stupid. But, that's, I guess you just have to accept that in this world, or maybe this is just
I'm always reminded
UK
to me,
thing.
and I say this a lot on this podcast, I'm just always amazed at what low standards horror movie fans have. They just love everything. So that's like, how the hell did this movie like, you look at the first one and go, I guess because he was all alone in London, but that idea has been done in other movies. So I'm just trying to figure out, what is it they liked about this movie? Critics always heap Danny Boyle. He gets nominated for Oscars all the time, and he never deserves it. I'm just okay. Trainspotting is his one solid movie, I guess, based on that. But he's constantly striking out and constantly just getting all this praise for shit movies, And I'm like, I just. Roseanne can't stand James Cameron. I can't stand Danny Boyle. I just don't understand how he keeps getting money for movies. Most of the movies just fizzle. I give him his editing. I'll give him his cinematography. I'll give him his premises. He always has good premises to his movies, but always stops and just midway and just changes course and turns into something else. Anyway, so let's dig into this third movie, which I hated. Let's go to it. Anything that you found interesting?
I think you touched on this. I actually like the way that it was filmed a lot. I think that there was some of the ways that it was edited, I wasn't entirely kind of convinced by the sort of cutting away brief moments and scenes and almost like flashback almost types of sequences, were okay.
I don't think it went anywhere, actually. All the cutaways of the old British movies and everything, the sort of all the historical found footage of, this is the way we've always been, this is England. It didn't manifest itself in some sort of universal theme of the mighty England or what we do in war. Did you think that? Because I thought they were going somewhere with the sort of cutaways to World War I and fighting in in the Crusades and all these things. It didn't seem to really turn into anything. But again, another Danny Boyle staple, where he starts one way and just goes about. He always seems to chicken out to me. Like he always chickens out, because it should have been about the Scottish Highland spirit, or something. But it just turned into the kindly death doctor. which I thought was, what the hell? We did all this for this? To be told by Ralph Fiennes that she's going to die anyway? Oh, well. Ho-hum. And again,
Yeah.
I really thought Aaron Taylor Johnson shouldn't have been given such a shit idiot part to play. Like, how about this? How about this for a premise, Joe? How about he loves his wife, he wants her to live. They all say no. She's got cancer. She's got to go out in the Forbidden Lands or whatever. There's nothing we can do. She's just going to waste our resources, right? So, and then he and his son can go to it could be like The Road or something. I thought that's what we were up for. I thought we were up for bigger ideas, bigger stakes, bigger emotions. It all was just cowardly. Everybody's a heel and a coward and a jerk, except the kid. And even the kid is like, it's all just dumb luck. And he's dumb. He lights their stores on fire. You know, like he's just like, okay, this is all emotional crap. So it just seemed he's a stupid kid. Like, well, given the circumstances, sorry, mom just has to die. I mean, and if that's all we were going to get anyway, mom's got to sit there and die of cancer. You know, but if I'm suffering, so if I could just have some morphine. Oh, if only I could have some morphine. So you give them some reason. You know, like, what's morphine? It's the most wonderful drug or something that the kid can believe in. But, like, what's he got? It just seemed so random and purposeless to me. Thoughts? Am I just ranting here?
No, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of... I think those scenes, what's particularly... It seems like he's dancing with a lot of ideas, but not committing to any of them.
Right.
There are some of those flashbacks, like there are the like old footage of like warriors, and then you have the others of like the zombies that are almost living like family life kind of in a weird way, you know, or just like doing their everyday stuff, whatever that is. And it's like, okay, so are we really going to get into this idea of like, okay, these zombies are just exactly like us, you know, which is, you know, a little bit derivative and not particularly original either, but sure, why not? You can go with that, I guess. Or are we going to go with this idea
in a relativistic, stupid mindset? Yeah, they're exactly like us. They're just more savage.
Yeah. And who's to say our way of life is the best way anyways?
Well, why not become cannibals? Why not? Sure.
Yeah.
Glowing-eyed, fat cannibals. Sounds great.
Yeah, we can crawl on our bellies for worms.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. No, I just all those allegories I found tedious. I kept going, yeah, I don't buy this. The pregnant woman, again, I didn't quite get that. Was she pregnant from a zombie, or was she pregnant as a human and then transformed into a zombie? I wish they'd sort of given me more of an idea, because I thought, well, they're having kids then? I thought they were zombies. I thought they were the undead. I'm confused.
Yeah.
So what was her deal? Do you have any indication if she was pregnant beforehand or not?
I think she was pregnant beforehand, only because I think that's why the Alpha Samson was after them. Was because I think that was it's at least implied that was his baby, I guess.
Right, I guess. Yeah, but she, again, there was no indication that how again, I thought in this world everybody outside the island was a zombie. So I'm just a little confused as to where she came from.
I mean, I'm confused where all the zombies came from at all.
Well, again, but if they're the undead, they're the zombie. But they starve to death though?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They starve to death after a month.
So and England is a fairly finite population too. You know, like it worked its way into Scotland, fine, Ireland, whatever. But the second movie destroyed their premise because they couldn't live. So where was she from? You know, I was thinking like, well, wait a minute, did they starve to death or not?
Yeah.
So I was confused as to where she came from. You know, but yeah, you're right. We've already established they starved to death within days.
Yes.
Like 28 weeks or whatever it took, they all died.
Yeah. I mean, by the end of 28 days, like again, that was another 28 days after. So what? 56 days, like we see all the zombies dying out.
Right.
like they're like collapsed and like gasping on their last breath, you know. Also, like in the first movie, you can go out during the daylight hours, and because that's when they're not going to be around. Like you're safe during the daylight. That premise is completely out of the window by the second movie.
Yeah.
Like they're running around outside in broad daylight without any issue.
Right.
So again, I think just very inconsistent in terms of how they are showing these zombies, or should I say the infected?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I do think it's a pretty weak series. I mean, again, I again, always sort of avoiding it because of Danny Boyle. Like, just because, again, I thought Shallow Grave, I didn't like that so much. So I just thought it was going to, like, I didn't know. I just always avoided it, like, not interested. And then this whole, like, because in a world now, in an era when trailers all look like crap, the 28 days or 28 years later trailer did look impressive. So I thought, okay, let's see what's up and do a podcast. But I don't have too much to say, honestly, other than I kind of hated them all. I didn't hate the second one, but the second one comes after the first one where I think, that was okay. Aliens, basically. You know, let's just bring in the military and do that whole routine. I didn't think the father story seemed a little weak, even in the beginning. It seemed a little contrived that, he's got this loving wife and he just doesn't fight for her. And, it's one thing if he gets overwhelmed. It just seemed a little like, okay, she's going to come back. How can I tell? Because she's there at the window and it's Catherine McCormack. She's coming back. So, I didn't, I wasn't blown away by it, but I was, and, at first interested in it, like as a premise. It seemed big in its execution at first. Then it got ever so small. By the time sorry, spoilers for those who don't see. By the time Jeremy Renner dies, I was over it.
Well, yeah, I think that there's also a lot of like, just things that just don't make a lot of sense. Like again, the soldiers. I mean, I know the soldiers were told, okay, just general kill order.
Yeah, but how can they see all that? Yeah, that was.
But how can they see? Also, why are they sniping people like after the order has come down that they're going to be carpet bombing the city?
Yeah.
Wouldn't they evacuate their snipers before then? Right. Like, why are they bothering wasting ammunition when they're just going to kill everything anyways? Like, and take the guys out.
And the Harold Perrineau stuff with the helicopter was just all like random. It felt very random.
I mean, also getting killed with the flamethrowers, like they can tell that he's not infected. Yeah. Like he's helping a car to move. He's pushing a car. So, we've never seen infected ever use a vehicle. So why even bother trying to kill them? Like it just, even if they're given the order, I feel like this, it's not a matter of soldiers are following orders because that's what they're told to do. Like they'd be like, well, I mean, hey, like they're not doing anything. Like, they're not infected. So why would we try and kill them? Like, if anything, follow them around and the infected will try to go after them too. We kill those.
Yeah. No, well, for sure. Then what happens to Idris Elba? I forget. I've already forgotten. He's their commander. Does he die? I don't even remember. No. But he doesn't. Fine. They don't.
Nothing happens.
They don't track him, do they? They don't track what happened because he's the one who makes the decision. Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay.
I think it's assumed they just all evacuate. And
yeah. I thought definitely the movie fizzled out for sure. It seemed fine when I was watching it, but yeah, as I think about it, you're right. It's pretty weak.
Yeah. And it was a vague ending that didn't go anywhere. I mean, with like, oh, now we get to see the flashback of like the helicopter all broken down and abandoned, and then zombies running out towards Paris. And it's like, yeah, that never becomes a problem, never becomes an issue. Nobody cared. I mean, they say in the beginning of this movie, the third movie, that, it was contained. Like, they didn't worry about it on mainland Europe. It's only the UK that has the problem.
Right. Which... Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't happen. All right. Well, so first movie, second movie, third movie, not great.
I think another interesting direction for the third movie would have been like following it on that idea of like, okay, we are the guards of this, this island or whatever, is like trying to tap into that sense of heroism that people have. Like, if you are fighting with bows and arrows, maybe like trying to revive this idea of like we're fighting back the barbarians, and like the struggle for human survival is on some sort of a noble level or something like that. But I don't think Danny Boyle's all that interested in human nobility, so I suppose that was never in the cards.
No. And again, the consistency's not there, so they're like, this alpha seems like they should have followed that bridge at some point. That sort of magical low tide bridge. Mm-hmm. That I just thought, is that I don't know much about geology or topography. Is that possible? Does this happen in Scotland, or is this just fantasy? It just seemed like pure fantasy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It all seemed kind of weak. But if I do like the idea of this culture creating its own mythology, kind of in like Mad Max. And I thought this was started off on a strong footing in that regard. I liked this island with all these little messages about not too much and not to, like all these sort of propagandist but true and obvious things that people would have to do to survive. So I thought the movie started well until I didn't like when Aaron Taylor Johnson just turns out to be a heel. I just thought, that's too bad. So I immediately kind of sunk like, oh, he's a jerk. And so, but then with that, the kid doesn't have any foundation, And then the mother's losing her mind, and it just seems like the kid's losing his mind. And it doesn't give us anywhere to go. And then he just survives miraculously. Because we've already shown that he's a coward. Not a coward. He's just a kid who gets nervous, and it's nerve-wracking to shoot a zombie raging at you. So it just seemed like that foundation was weak to me.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the stuff to take care of his mother. So he wouldn't do it if he was logical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not beat a dead horse, right? Keep this quick. So
I don't know. Danny Boyle has.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Favorite character, favorite actor in the whole damn thing.
Oh, that's hard. I think I didn't mind Jeremy Renner. I think he did fine for what he needed to. And I think maybe because I view the second movie the most positively, that's probably why I liked him the most. I think Cillian Murphy did a good job.
He did fine. He's just,
I
would actually argue that Naomie Harris was better. I thought I liked her character better. I wish they had explored the idea. I'm not. I want some internet guy going, you're pro-rapey. But no, but these ideas of what women endure during war is an interesting concept. And it, again, not that you want to rip off two women, again, the Sika film I was talking about, but that's a strong psychological film about what women go through.
I think also, I mean, I've said before, I think a lot of the plot points are flimsy. If you push on them too hard, they're going to break. And I think that with the soldiers, like, one of the aspects was like, well, they need something to look forward to. Like, I kept him from committing suicide, and, we're the last people who exist. It's like, it's only been 28 days since the outbreak started.
Right. Yeah.
Like, since it started, it's been the month of February, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so you're already throwing in the towel now?
Well, he's obviously a big towel thrower based on his third movie. Yeah. So
to me, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't buy that they're that desperate yet.
For sure.
You know.
For sure.
Um.
But as a practical survivor who has survived, watched her friend die, watched everything, I just thought Naomie Harris would probably weigh the pros and cons.
Yes.
And I thought that was going to be I thought that was where the moral dilemma was heading. As, you know, where you deal with the Holocaust, anytime you deal with extreme human suffering, you're going to deal with rape. You know, and I just thought, okay, this movie's going to go into really psychological, sort of really disturbing territory. And it didn't. That's what makes, but she still stuck out as the most interesting character.
I do think that maybe that was kind of what she was trying to do with the pills.
Yeah.
Like, here, like, take these. These aren't to kill you.
Right.
This will just make you not care about anything.
Right. Yeah, that was there. They just didn't deal with Naomie Harris's attitude about it. Mm-hmm. And she's the one who says, "Oh, I'll survive." That's all you do. So I just thought, well, okay, let's break this down. You know, I mean, 2 or 3 soldiers, is that really gonna destroy her morale so much when she's watched everybody she knows get eaten alive? Mm-hmm. You know, that's my question. Like, well, there's the big sort of crux of the film. How low is low? How low does humanity go? And it wanted to make this commentary that, oh, mankind goes lower. Well, like, yeah, but it's still not as bad as getting eaten alive by a zombie.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, I just say don't bring it up if you can't deal with it. That's all. Mm-hmm. And he didn't deal with it in a satisfactory manner, so you shouldn't have brought it up. It's like I always rip on The Dark Knight. Don't bring up the guy trying to blackmail Batman. You know why? Because the whole thing comes crumbling down if some board member goes, "Hey, you can't take Wayne Tech." Yeah, that's right. You can't take Wayne Tech. You're going to get sued and kicked off the board and ruined. Don't bring that up, because Batman is a house of cards if you start bringing up real life like incidents and legal situations, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, yeah, don't bring it up then. Then forget it. She's got 5 burly brothers who are going to protect her. Forget it. Mm-hmm. You know, don't bring it up. You know, like, yeah, the army versus her burly brothers, her mean ass brothers from, you know, I don't know, pick a country.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, they survived. That would be cool too. That would have been a cooler aspect. But another thing too that I thought, he's a bike messenger. And I think the world would definitely be just like it would be in reality. If you're a bike messenger, you're useless. They pretty much shoot you in the head anyway. What can you do? Can you fix anything? Can you fix bikes? Oh, I can fix bikes. Okay, fine. All right, maybe we'll let you live. But it's going to be based on what can you do, right? Like, I need you because I need I need an electrician. As an electrician in the house, I need a doctor, right? So to survive this, it's got to be people with skills. So those are the people who would survive anyway. So bike messenger, he's dead. Mm-hmm. You know? So again, just shoddy premises. They're not thinking this through in a way that's particularly interesting. Again, horror fans, but I digress and repeat myself. So Naomie Harris, of the leads, okay, let's go to number 3, Alfie Williams. I liked him. I liked the little kid. I thought he shows potential.
I thought the kids in general, I think even at the beginning of the movie, like, I think the kids did a good job acting terrified, you know, and I don't think that's an easy thing for a kid to act like in a convincing way, you know, but I think that all the kids, I think, in the third movie did a good job with acting. And Alfie did have to have a lot that was, I mean, he had to kind of partially carry that movie.
He turned into a man.
You know?
I was impressed with him. I bought his demeanor at the end. I certainly wish it had ended in not the way it did, you know, with this sort of idea that we're going to be in for more, the adventures of the pagan cult, you know. Yeah. So I was like, oh, geez, forget it. I'm done. But yeah, I liked him. I was really disappointed with Ralph Fiennes and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Ralph Fiennes especially since off of The Return, which was a fantastic performance. So I thought he was back into Voldemort territory. Harry Potter, just a kindly voice, soft spoke. So I was just like, no. And I was just stunned at a movie that would, you're 12 years old, your mother's dying of cancer, you've been exiled from your island. Let's burn the skin off your mother's head and place her skull on top of your pagan monument. Okay, psycho. In what world was that a good thing for a 12-year-old? So, like, yeah, I was like, oh, God. You know, you talk about disappointments. No, it's just not life. You know, this is Danny Boyle seems to be his whole stew of, you're not really a life-affirming type guy, are you, Danny? But you're not bold enough to be a full-on nihilist. So you're just in the middle, like just this comfortable little Hollywood skinny tie, skinny suit jerkwad.
I think Ralph Fiennes' character is what also really reminded me a lot of Mad Max, specifically like Fury Road.
Yeah.
With like the idea of like, oh, here's this scientist, you know, who is now kind of more of a spiritual medicine man, healer type person, I guess, you know, who knows these old ways and has the old wisdom of this bygone era. You know, and it's like, okay, I've seen this
the
before.
druids, you know, the little people, you know, like, I just was like, oh, could you give me a break with this bullshit? You know, oh, hi, he waved kindly, like as if to say, what's up, or whatever, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and he just misunderstood his kindliness. No, the guy's a psycho.
Yeah.
Nope, by civilized human standards, he's a psycho. So it's like, bullshit.
I was thinking there was going to be something better when it came to like, oh, he was laying out all the bodies. I was like, okay, like, is he using this as a deterrent? Like,
yeah, exactly.
They smell the smell of death around in the area, and that keeps the infected away because they're like, oh, it's our others of our kind. Why not? Well, no reason to be here. But no, it was like, okay, he was just running a local crematorium, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, completely disappointed by him. His whole deal. The look, everything. You know, like, well, he doesn't look like he did in The Return. He didn't look all badass. He just looked like he was this he again looked like Voldemort again.
I mean, the whole iodine thing too was like, okay. Like, oh, it repels the sickness. It's like, yeah, that is sort of how iodine works. But the deal with this disease is if it gets in your mouth or in your blood, that's what turns you.
Right.
So it doesn't, unless you can put iodine in your mouth and in your eyes, I don't think this is actually going to be beneficial for you.
Well, but they bite you, right? So that's the thing.
I guess they do bite. But
so I thought that was the deterrent.
It would still have broken the skin, I think. I don't know that he was saying, was he saying that it keeps those zombies at bay or anything like that?
I thought that, again, I'd have to see it again, but I don't want to see it again because I don't want to give them money. But yeah, whatever. It didn't go anywhere. The kid didn't use it, you know. Oh, again, cliche number 500, or actually pretty high up on the list of cliches. The guy who drops the gun and the kid who would be nothing but fascinated by a machine gun and drawn to its awesome destructive power doesn't get the machine gun. Like, I just hate, you know, they never eat their burger and they never pick up the gun. The gun's so hot, I never want to pick it up again. No. You know what the kid's going to do? He's going to go, oh, he had a machine gun. He had an automatic rifle. I'm going to get it. You know, like, what the hell? I just hate movies when they do that. It's like, no, you're going to eat the pizza. You're going to eat the sandwich. No, you're going to pick up the gun. You're always going to pick up the gun. You know why? More guns equals more protection. And they always do that in movies. Always. So that just shows you what a bonehead Danny Boyle is. He falls for that old cliche.
I mean, even the brief moment with the soldiers, where I guess the only reason to have all of that was to establish this character that runs into them. Like
Yeah, it was
and Samson, I
not a
guess.
Deus Ex Machina, but it was just a convenient way to have them get through that last leg.
Very convenient.
Like he wouldn't carry the mother for sure. It
Yeah.
would, again, if Danny Boyle was up to his old terrain spotting courage, the soldier would just shoot the mother. Go boom. Sorry, kid.
It's a tough world we live in.
Yeah. Sorry. There's
brakes.
no way. There's no way. She's just gonna slow us down. We're gonna get killed. And if it's between you and me and her, fuck that. So that would be that'd be the again. There's just it's just a story of convenience and contrivance, and I hated it. Hated it. Again, vivid imagery. I give it that. Even the pagan like statue or stack of bones was interesting as a visual. I'll give it that. It had some interesting visuals. Did not deliver at all on an emotional or logical level to where it could be a satisfying movie. And anybody liking this movie is full of crap because it's just the building blocks aren't there. It's a weak script, and the stakes aren't high enough, and the payoff is useless. Like that's a useless payoff. He's a man because he can accept death. Well, okay.
Yeah.
But he would have accepted death sitting at home. Without this, Yep, he would have accepted her death just watching her die on the island. So, very feeble excuse for a movie. I don't know what's worse, the first or the third. I mean, we rated the third worst because I think it swung the highest, but it also missed to the point where its helmet was spinning around its head and it fell over, and it's you could see its butt crack. That's how bad it. But the first one failed too. I'm just trying to figure which is the bigger, more spectacular failure.
I think the first one is just me personally. I think that the third movie, at least, there's some visually interesting things going on. Like I think that there's. It's at least shot. I think it's shot pretty well. Like there are moments where I'm like, this is actually beautiful, and it's interesting that they're taking some time to breathe and talk about, okay, well, like the world is a beautiful place.
Right.
Beautiful and wild and dangerous, but still beautiful. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting in some kind of a way. I feel like I could watch the third movie again, and even if I didn't necessarily like all of it, and even if there are way too many disgusting looking naked bodies running around at all times.
I didn't hate that, except for, they weren't like that in the first movie. So I thought, when did they become naked all of a sudden? Because in the first movie, they're all wearing clothes. And, so it just seemed like that was a new addition to the thing. But again, fine, they're out in the woods. They're crazy now. They're naked.
Sure. I understand it for what it is.
Yeah.
But anyways, my point is just like, I still prefer the third movie over the first one.
I would give the first movie, that tunnel scene was, except for the stupidity of the car, but the tunnel scene was shot well. Where I was like, I like kind of if there is sort of a visual hallmark or trademark of the series, it's hilltops and people running down, like hordes of people running down sort of idyllic English countryside. And even the second movie exploited that pretty well. The first movie had a little bit of it, not enough. The first movie was too sort of herky-jerky. But I like the tunnel scene for that sort of like hazy, nightmarish running through a tunnel sequence.
I also, in terms of that, I was thinking of the animals running away in advance of the infected and stuff like that. And I will say one other thing about this third movie that I just couldn't stand was the CGI herd.
Yeah.
It felt like it was right out of Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, it sure did.
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Plus with Aaron Taylor Johnson, it felt.
You're
right. Plus the same hills, same location as his Kraven the Hunter haunt.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. As much as I dislike Kraven the Hunter, well, no, he was better in this, but he was still a disappointment.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed that his character was, not that I don't like a bad person, but it was a lazily bad person. Like he's a blowhard. That's I find him being a blowhard, but just no love for the mother. It it just seemed like he set it up for, like, I guess those people exist, but you don't take Aaron Taylor Johnson and turn him into a dumbass.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look that guy like that guy,
I also think that, like, within a couple of hours of Spike leaving, he probably would have realized it and been like, oh, they're both gone. Where did they go? There was a fire that happened at the same time.
Right.
Last person to see him was the watchman, who didn't see him when he came back. I wonder what could have happened. Like, I think that he would have chased after them.
And
like,
it would have
been
probably
an
been a
interesting
nice
thing.
confrontation between him and Ralph Fiennes, too.
Yeah.
Like the pragmatic versus the idealist. And,
Mm-hmm.
and how they've sort of intertwined, right? So Aaron Taylor Johnson's pragmatic in terms of just staying alive versus dipshit who thinks it's wonderful to throw up monuments to death.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, blah. Okay, so I say Naomie Harris. She's my favorite of the whole lot. You say who?
I guess it's Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner. And then we like the kid. And then I can take or leave the kids. The kids in the second movie I just don't think rate. It's Imogen
No.
Poots, who's grew up to be sort of a gorgeous British actress. She's fine. But yeah, they don't make much of an impression. The first one, she was fine. Brendan Gleason made more of an impression, I thought, as her dad. Yeah, again, she wasn't given much to do because her whole thing about having to face the soldiers was completely watered down. And just became a hero story, a standard, as I've said. So I didn't like that. She sort of undermined her dramatic arc. Cinematography, obviously number 3, right? Number 3 had the best.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the shots looked like they were just doing, advertising for the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah.
Like, come visit luxurious Scotland,
Yeah.
in between horrible cannibalism.
I'm not going to comment on music. There was nothing to comment about. Editing, I thought the editing was pretty good in number 3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed lively in its editing. Maybe the sort of Technicolor shots of British, archers and knights of the, that kind of thing was a little jarring. Like, I'm not quite sure if that worked. I would have excised some of those, but maybe a little ostentatious, right?
It worked. It worked well enough for me. I think it would have worked better if they had actually done something with it.
Right. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And then direction. Obviously, he's become a more skilled filmmaker. The other guy, what's his name? I don't know what became of him. I saw he just did a Netflix movie. What's his name? So Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. He just did some Netflix movie with Millie Bobby Brown. But beyond that, fairly unremarkable film output. So yeah, I don't know why he got the movie. I didn't read into it as to how he got the movie, why he was chosen, whatever. Mm-hmm. Did he ape the style well enough? I think so, especially the first epilogue or the prologue. Definitely felt like it was in the same universe. Anyway, I don't know. I think the third one had the best direction, but the weakest plot, honestly. By far the weakest plot. If we're looking at plots.
Yeah. I think it just had a very disorganized focus, which I think is part of the...
Well, but undermotivated. Everybody's undermotivated.
Yeah.
So the kid's completely undermotivated because he's been hampered by not cowardice, but he's hampered by inexperience. So,
I mean, the kid also could have, I don't know, left his mom and then gone and got the doctor and brought him back. That seems like
that would be more realistic.
Smarter option.
Yeah, that sort of flashed in my brain too, as I left the theater and was sort of complaining to myself as to what was wrong with it. It just didn't have the right you raise the stakes. It has to matter more, and it doesn't make a lick of sense to take your crazy babbling mother out into the forbidden zone. It's just like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It's stupid. It's a stupid plot. You know?
I think it could have also been an interesting story, having the kid go out on his own. I don't know. I mean, taking a keynote from very different sorts of literature, but like The Little Prince, like going from asteroid to asteroid, meeting these different weird people who managed to survive this apocalypse, and figuring out whatever perspectives they had. Could have been another interesting version of this movie.
Sure.
But no, wanted to bring the mom along, and who I guess is also a hidden badass or something like that. Like, if she was able to, like...
Yeah, she crushed the skull of the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. A striking scene, I'll give it that, in terms of visuals. Like, when it was from the top view, crawling. I'm not saying I was in suspense. I figured it was going to end the way it ended. I figured it was going to be the mother, too. I thought, okay. But, again, direction-wise, it was pretty good cinematography. I liked the look of the film, for sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And Jodie Comer, I don't know. Not sold on her yet.
No. I also always... I mean, I question that scene, too. I don't think... I have a hard time sleeping,
I lost you, Joe.
My cat's running around in the house. I don't know that I'm going to have an easy time sleeping knowing I'm out in the wild where there are people that want to eat me.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be that hard to stay up that late.
Right.
No matter what age I'm at.
The movement and the noise is you're going to
be a light sleeper naturally.
Yeah. Again, if we get into each scene where the movie's finished. I'm just saying, as a cumulative whole, it looked good. It had striking imagery, even the image of the guy hanging up. Oh, who did that, by the way? The guy hanging upside down. At first, I thought it was our friend Ralph Fiennes, but it turns out no. So
I think it was Jimmy, but I could be wrong about that. The guy who appeared at the very end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. You're right. I hadn't put that together. Right.
That's at least my guess.
You're right.
But
yeah. I was trying to figure. I thought, wait, who could have done that if there's no humans out here? And then there are humans out there. That's right.
Arriving with a Teletubbies theme song.
Yeah. All right, Joe. You gonna recommend any of these films? Or are you gonna see them again?
Probably not.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm pretty good on that. I've had my fill of blood and guts for a lifetime.
But again, I'm just trying. I mentioned it earlier. I'm just trying to figure out what about these films is capturing people's imagination over. Is it just because it's English people? Or they're just proud of their zombie movie. They're sick of Americans always pushing their weight around with the genre films. Is that it? I'm like trying to think, why are these so revered? I just find them pretty run of the mill, honestly. And again, if I didn't know who Danny Boyle was, again, one thing I do respect, I will say this about Danny Boyle, with all my sort of hatred for his movies, he does venture into a lot of different genres, which is cool. He doesn't do the same movie over and over, except for the. Well, no, Trainspotting 2 wasn't even the same movie. Like, what the hell is this? But yeah, he even when he does a sequel, it's like, God, this is not what I thought it would be. So he does various different genres, and I respect that sort of quality about him. But other than that, he just fizzles. Anyway, that's the point. Joe, thanks for joining us. It will be a while now since I'm venturing off to the Forbidden Zone myself. So when we next meet, it will be the Fantastic Four Superman Face-Off.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Love
well,
that.
I certainly appreciate you taking the time to both watch the movies and discuss with me. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to Fabulous Film and Friends. Copyright 2025, a Bel Air Films production.